let me try it with an analogy. Have you ever played the game Jenga? Okay, so
Yes.
it's pretty easy to pick up one of those little Jenga blocks, right? Jenga, if it's just sitting on the table, right? You just pick it up, right? But if it's at the bottom of the tower, it's very delicate, right? Have you ever done it where you've got a thread hanging from your shirt and you pull the thread and it doesn't just pop out, but it bunches up the whole shirt and it kind of screws up the shirt when you just pull the one thread? So this is a lot of wisdom for a young man, so brace yourself. Are you ready? All right.
I'm ready.
Here we go. Let's get our think on. Most people, and by that I mean like most people, are not individuals. They are part of an invisible system of relationships. So why, let's just make up a guy's name, Bob. You're Bob, your friend, right? Now, why would Bob be nagged and pushed around by his girlfriend? Why would he think that was acceptable? Let's play this out. Why would Bob allow that or accept that or feel that that was normal and natural?
Because you saw
Yeah,
it as a
because that's
kid.
how his family goes. Now, if you have a son, Bob Jr., let's say, so if you have a son and his girlfriend is over and she's snapping at him and telling him he's using the wrong damn fork and don't embarrass her and so on, whatever, right? Then what would you say to Bob Jr.?
Sorry, I just blanked there for a second. I guess I would say, I would point out the nagging, right?
No one's that sexy. It's not worth it. You know, you'd say, look, that's no good. Like, and you would, if you really cared about Bob Jr., your son, you'd do it. The moment you saw her snapping at your son, what would you say to his girlfriend or his date or whatever?
I saw him
No, she
snapping
snapped at him.
her son.
So your son is sitting at the table. He's brought his date over, and she's snapping at him. What would you say?
Why is she
What would you
talking to
say
me
to
like
her?
that? Don't
Well,
talk
what
to
I
my
would
son
say
like
is,
that.
whoa. My friend, I'm just meeting you for the first time. I'm sorry if this is what you learned in your family. We don't do it. We don't do it that way here. Yeah, we don't do it. Like we don't nag, we don't snap, right? We don't correct people in a harsh way. Like that's not how we do things. And I want to like you. I want to like my son dating you, but you can't talk to him like that. Like that's not acceptable. And trust me, if he talked to you like that, I would say the same thing to him. So, you are welcome at the dinner table. And, if things work out, you're welcome in the family. And I want to protect my desire to welcome you into our table and perhaps into our family. And so you can't do that. Right? Now, I'm happy to talk about, if you feel he needs to be corrected or he's holding the wrong fork, that's fine. That's an interesting conversation. I'm happy to have that chat, but not in a snappy way. Does that make sense? I mean, that's what I would say. Now, you went straight to, how dare you talk to my, you can't talk to my son like that. But that's pretty hostile and aggressive, right? It can be more gentle and friendly. So the reason why your friend Bob gets snapped at and put down by his girlfriend is because he's part of a whole system that has completely justified that. And if he starts to, this is why your friends don't pick up your philosophy books, because they respect philosophy more than you do, if you don't mind me putting it in this blunt fashion. And I say this with great humility in that I was much older than you before I began to really respect philosophy. So I say this with all due humility to your relatively tender years. But your friends respect philosophy a lot more than you do. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. So you said you would hand out a book by Montaigne or maybe something by me or whatever it is, some book on philosophy or self-knowledge, right? Drama of the Gifted Child or something like that, right? And you'd say, hey, bro,
Yeah.
Just read this book. It's interesting. That's your thought, right? I like this book. You should try it. And why don't they read it?
Because you saying that really gave me a punch in the gut. Because they know that they'd be hypocritical if they did.
Go on.
Well, we're all social drinkers and we all act this way and we act completely, we're Christian. We act opposite to any rationality of philosophy.
Sorry, that's relative, but
so,
it's going back to their own family, right? So let's say that you gave them Peaceful Parenting. What happens if they read it and truly absorb the contents?
they have to go and present this to their family.
Right. And that doesn't go well. And the reason that their girlfriends snap at them is to appease their parents, to not denormalize how their parents behave, how their mother behaves towards their father, how the mother behaves towards them, their sister, their aunt, whoever, right? Because sure as sunrise,
Wow.
Bob and his girlfriend have probably broken bread with Bob's parents. And Bob's parents have said, oh, she's great. Yeah, we love her. Why? Because she poses no threat to them, because he's got a nagging mom, and a girlfriend who nags the son poses no threat to the mother who nags the son and the husband. Whereas if she is not a nag, then the mother is on high alert, right? Because if the girlfriend is not a nag, then she's going to see very quickly that the mother is a nag, right? And then what's she going to say to her boyfriend?
This is a different way here. This needs to.
I don't like the way your mother treats you. I care about you, and your mother treats you disrespectfully. I don't like that. And then what?
Well, then if you're in the guy's shoes, you have to either fight the draw of your parents or the draw of your girlfriend, right?
So then what you have to do is you have to humiliate your father. Do you know how that comes about?
Because he chose his mother?
Yeah, probably. Yes, probably. But yeah, you have to go to your mother and say, this nagging is unacceptable. Now, whose job was that? Well, his father's
parents
job.
When they met each other.
It was his father's job to say to his then girlfriend, fiance, whatever, no, we don't, like, let's not do the nagging thing. That's cliched and boring and unpleasant, and I don't want you inflicting that nagging on my kids, right? So the father has been a cuck, a zeta, weak, a pushover, spineless, a eunuch, and the son has to stand up to the nagging mother because the father was too scared, too fragile. It was too unpleasant. So then the son has to say to the mother, stop nagging. And how does the father react to that?
Well, he
feels very humiliated.
Yeah,
and he will likely side with the mother against the son. Do you know why? Oh, this is so deep. Do you know why? Because if the son successfully stops the mother from nagging, then the father is revealed as a pathetic coward who could have stopped it any time. If the mother says, oh, you know what? You're right. I shouldn't nag. I'll work on that. After the father has been terrified of correcting his wife for 30 years or 20 years or whatever, the son comes along and the mother's like, oh, you know what? You're right. And then how does the father feel? Incredibly humiliated.
Yeah.
Incredibly angry that his own cowardice has now been revealed by the courage of his son. You know, it's very dangerous. I tell you this from personal experience, man. It is very dangerous to be courageous when surrounded by cowards. If you are courageous against a foe around cowards, the cowards will side with the foe and attack you to justify their own cowardice. Because if you succeed where they failed, then their cowardice is revealed as cowardice rather than prudence or compromise or being reasonable or whatever they had lied to themselves about what it was.
And my friends take philosophy more seriously than I do
because they know that.
They know,
like, if you ever seen those videos, I'm sure you have, right? Like this, the dominoes, like they all just go down in a row and they go upstairs and, round in spirals. Like, those dominoes. If you flick one and they all start going down, right?
Yeah.
Well, you're saying, hey, man, just flick this domino. Just read this book. And what do they see? Right? All the dominoes go down. And they're like, fuck no, give me a drink. So the reason why you have shied away from saying to your friend, your girlfriend's kind of bossy to you, she's kind of puts you down, right? Is because you instinctively sense that people are not individuals. They're part of an interlocking system. Like, that one piece at the bottom of Jenga. Like if you start Jenga, you're at the top, pretty easy, just pull the little stick out, right? But the bottom, people are very careful and very hesitant, right? Because you pull that one wrong, the whole thing comes down, right? People are not individuals. They are locked into systems of, I think of them like complicated machinery or dominoes or interlocking bricks or jigsaw puzzle pieces, right? It's really hard to take a single piece of the jigsaw puzzle out because it's kind of all together, right? But you are poking around at the base of very fragile structures. And if someone, what do we know about someone whose girlfriend is bitchy to him, nags him? Well, we know that that's what he's used to. We know that his father never taught him to not be nagged. We know that his mother nags him. And we know that if he tries to put a stop to the nagging in his own family, everyone's going to turn on him because they have to believe that the nagging can't be changed. And so they say, well, look, I'm not frightened of my wife. It's just that it's female nature to nag, or whatever lies they tell themselves, right? It's, it's like I don't get mad at gravity because gravity is an absolute and we have to adapt ourselves to absolutes, right? We don't try and wish them out. Like I don't jump off a high wall and say, oh, I believe I can fly, right? Because gravity is a very real fact. I don't want to hurt my ankles or whatever, right? So adjusting to facts is sanity. But cowering before merely human nagginess is cowardice. And so if somebody takes a stand against the mother's nagging, if the son takes a stand against the mother's nagging, the mother attacks him, the father attacks him, the sisters attack him because they're looking for the same kind of power over their future spouses and all that, right? Maybe there's a brother or two that might get behind him, but they usually pretty quickly take it out. But it's like pulling out that bottom gender block, the whole thing come crashing down on you, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I've been seeing them this entire time as not a system, but an individual person. I keep thinking, what do I owe to this particular person or these particular people in this friend group? But
yeah, you think of them as individuals, like but I mean, why is it that someone in a crime gang doesn't get killed? Because what happens if you kill someone who's in a crime gang, in the mafia or something? What happens?
You get the whole gang after you.
Right. Because he's not an individual. He's part of a system. And if you don't deal with people as part of a system, what will happen is you'll end up blaming yourself for cowardice when what you have is rational prudence. Because you're saying, look, it's just one guy. It's just one conversation. Why would I be so nervous about having just one conversation with just one guy? Because he'll fight you tooth and nail. In other words, his entire system of interlocking relationships and power structures and dominance structures, they're all set up to replicate. And his concern, right, as a male, he wants to reproduce. Now, if let's say that in a tribe all the women nagged, what happened to the guy who wouldn't put up with nagging?
He dies.
Yeah, he dies off, right? The genes die out. So we put up with what the women put off so that they will put out. Anyway, so we put up with what the women hand out because, right, most 80% of women reproduce and only 40% of men. So we are trained to not deviate too much from what our mothers did because that's what all the women in the tribe would do. And so the fear, which is I think what your therapist was talking about, and which we all face, like I wrote about this in my first book, like that walk across the desert from the city of the dead to the small village somewhere out there beyond the dunes where there's some actual people. But, it's a pretty scary crossing because you can't see any oases and it's a hell of a lot of sand dunes that seem to be going off forever and on forever. So if we say, I am not going to put up with dysfunction, and given that almost all people throughout almost all of human history were very dysfunctional, if we say, hey, man, I'm not putting up with dysfunction, then the genuine fear is that we end up alone, we end up not reproducing. Because if you say to your friend, he'll view it as sabotage. If you say, hey, man, why would you let her treat you that way? Why would you let her put you down that way? His genes kick in and say, shut him up. Shut him up. If we call her out on this, she'll just go to some other guy she can push around and our genes will die out. Shut him up. He's trying to sabotage you. He's trying to screw up your chance at a relationship, at marriage, at love, at reproduction. He's sabotaging you completely. He's trying to tell you to adopt standards that will sterilize your balls.
And looking at that system of people at least provides so much more clarity for me on like, okay, so I've defood and I couldn't even, convince my brother. What makes you think that I could do this with a completely different family and bring up these ideas?
And if they know that you've defood and you say, hey, you should read this book that really influenced me, they were like, but I want to have a family.
Yeah.
I don't want to be some weirdo who doesn't talk to his family, like, because that's the perception, right? I want to. You're basically saying, you should try this drug that almost got me killed. You should read this book that cut me off from all parental support for the rest of my life. I don't get an inheritance. I don't get wisdom. I don't get job offers. I don't get contacts. I got no place to go. 4th of July, Thanksgiving, Christmas. Hey, you should read this book too. And what do they say? Get that shit away from me, man.
Yeah, and it's just been so...
I have these magic books that will sever all human relationships that you know. Want to try reading it? Fuck no. You get that evil spell, goblin, witchcraft, voodoo away from me. Read this, and you'll be very, very alone.
In that philosophy that I'm still working through the process through, it's really transformed my whole life. And I guess I wasn't having empathy for those people who see it on the other side and see how difficult it is, because it's really gone from my parents. Now I've left my job and I'm gonna get a degree and try to up my potential where I was squandering it in a trade job, and now it's touching my friends, and now I'm on the friend subject. It's like I just I wasn't having any empathy for the people who could see that on the outside.
That's what I mean when I say they're taking philosophy in a way more seriously than you are. That was kind of tongue in cheek, but there's, I think, an element of truth in it, because you're saying, hey, I've got this fantastic flamethrower. It's super pretty. One side effect is that it will burn down every single relationship you have, but do you want to try it? And they're like, if it's going to set fire to my family house, I don't think I want to play with your fireworks.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess then I just get to like, how do I even go about this radical change? Because I haven't told them that I defood. If I go to this bachelor party that I'm invited to, then all this stuff is going to be, I mean, obviously the question is going to be, how's your family? How's this? How's that? And I'm going to bring these things up, and I'm going to be running up against.
That's a long story for another time. So if you want to know whether your friend group, I can give you a very simple way to figure out if your friend group is worth hanging out with. Are you ready? Yeah.
I am ready.
Just don't drink.
I'm so ready.
Just don't drink. That's it. Just don't drink. If they're getting together and they're all drinking and getting shit-faced, don't drink. I mean, you can bring some near beer, like some de-alcoholized beer or whatever, if you want to, at least have something in your hand, but just don't drink. Have a Diet Coke. Say, oh yeah, it's a rum and Coke or whatever. Don't drink and see what you see. It's horrifying, by the by. You just see people destroying their brains and getting retarded and thinking it's fun. It's repulsive. Like if you don't drink and you're around people who drink to excess, I mean, that's just you looking through the door of your garage, right? And you shouldn't drink, by the way.
Yeah.
Because you're the son of an alcoholic. So you can't drink.